Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. So the site editor in WordPress is almost 2 years old at this point, and it's been almost a year since they went ahead and removed the beta label, which really symbolizes the fact that, well, it seems like it's ready for the big time now. So naturally, the question you might have is, well, should you use the site editor for your WordPress website now? The answer, like a lot of things when it comes to tech and, well, life in general, is that it's complicated. I know that's a bit of a letdown, but it is the truth. There are a lot of cool things that you can do with the site editor that you can't do with regular themes or classic themes, especially when it comes to customizing your website. But on the other side, it does have its own challenges, especially when it comes to the design side of things. So before you make the decision this year to use the site editor for your website, let's first take a look to see whether or not you really should be using the site editor for that site you're going to create. And we'll take a look at some of the positives and negatives for the site editor, as well as scenarios where you might use it or might not use it. But before we get started, if you want to see more videos about WordPress development, web development in general, block themes, how to build blocks, those sorts of things, be sure to hit the subscribe button and to ring the bell for notifications. Now, let's get started. So first off, let's talk about the site editor. In short, the WordPress site editor allows you to customize every part of your website, from the colors, the fonts, to customizing your header and footer, to customizing the templates like your default page template, the single post template, those sorts of things. And you can do it right from your dashboard. You don't need to worry about PHP, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, those sorts of things. Although I will say that having a general knowledge of them will come in handy. This really moves WordPress into a competitive space with Wix and Squarespace that kind of do something similar, although those are proprietary systems. The one thing though with using the site editor is that you need to be using a block theme like any of the themes from the Crosswinds framework. And these themes can really help you build a website a lot quicker. A really well-built block theme will give you a great starting template for building your website, from the templates that it starts with to the many different patterns that are included with the theme. And a lot of these block themes come with style variations, which allow you to change the fonts, colors, and other styles with just one click of the mouse. And then from there, you can edit everything. You can change what your header and footer look like. You can put social media links up in your header or down in the footer. You can put a call to action in the header. You can customize the default page template or create your own page template. And you can make changes to the single blog post template, like maybe you want to add the featured image in there, or any of the archive templates. With the site editor, you can customize every part of your website, and you don't need to have any coding experience to do so. And if you just want to try out the site editor without committing to anything or having to set up your own test environment, you can check out the WP Playground for more. And fullsiteediting.com is a great resource for both developers and site owners for how to use the site editor. Okay, so now that we know what the site editor is, let's take a look at some of the pros for using the site editor. One of the biggest pros for using the site editor is what we just talked about. You can customize your entire website right from the dashboard, and you don't need to know any code to do it. This means everything is customizable by you, the end user. Again, you can change your header and footer, you can customize the default page template, the single post template, or create your own templates. You control every part of your website, and that gives you a ton of power. Also, while it can be tricky to learn the site editor at first, if we're being honest, the good news is that things are getting easier with each release of WordPress. In fact, WordPress 6.3 had a big focus on making things a whole lot easier to use with the site editor, and the same with WordPress 6.4 and WordPress 6.5, which is coming up here in March, is really going to be great. As someone who's been using it really since 2022, I can say that it has improved a lot in the almost 2 years that it's been in WordPress core. So even if you're a little bit concerned about usability right now, don't worry, it's going to get a whole lot easier with each release. And finally, you can really make your website your own website. you're not dependent on anybody else to help you out. You can take any block theme, and yes, even the two default block themes that we've had with 2023 and 2024, and just make your own website. You can customize it with your own fonts, your own colors, your own layouts, those sorts of things. And really, you can make it look different from somebody else who's using that same exact theme, which is one of the things that can be a little bit challenging if you're using a theme from the WordPress theme repository, or like places like ThemeForce or StudioPress, those sorts of things. And again, you won't have to worry about finding a developer to help you customize it. You can change the colors and fonts to match your branding. You can create an amazing homepage that really speaks to who you are, or your business is, or your organization is. You can customize all of the different templates. You can craft great headers and footers, and you can do that all visually right through your dashboard. Plus, it's also all through WordPress core functions and not a third party like Elementor, Divi, or any of those other page builders. And you don't have to worry about adding in just another plugin just to be able to do that. If all that sounds like something you want to do, then the WordPress site editor is going to be a great tool for you to use to create your amazing website. On the other hand, there are a lot of really good reasons for why you shouldn't use the site editor for your website, and that's totally fine. But first, let's dive into those. As I mentioned before, there can be a steep learning curve when it comes to learning how to use the site editor. If you've used the block editor a lot, that can be a really good starting point for learning the site editor, but there are some things that are different in the site editor from the block editor. For starters, you have a lot of tabs and options that are just all over the place, like the global styles options, and it can feel overwhelming. And now you've added templates and template parts to the mix, and again, it can just overwhelm you if you're not used to it. Plus, you're now making those decisions that a theme designer or developer has already created for you if you're using a regular or a classic theme. It certainly can be a lot to think about and worry about and all of that, and if you just want to simply create a simple website, then maybe the site editor isn't for you. Another issue is that there are just not a whole lot of block themes out there yet. Yes, the Crosswinds framework and the suite of child themes is certainly an option for you, as are other themes that have been created by great theme authors. But if you want to take a look at sort of other block themes for options, there's not a whole lot there quite yet. And that makes sense. It's still been about 2 years since Site Editor has been released, and again, it's been about a year since the beta label was removed. And theme builders are working on filling that market, but the depths of block themes isn't just quite as deep as those regular or classic PHP themes yet. So if you still want a range of options for a theme to use for a website, then sticking with a classic theme and sort of the normal block editor is really probably what you're going to want to go with. One thing that I have noticed with the site editor is that changing a website from a classic or legacy PHP theme over to a block theme can be a real challenge, especially if you're not a developer or you're not experienced with something like that. I mean, I even had trouble the first time I converted one of my websites over to a block theme. There's just a whole lot you have to do to make sure that your website is converted properly. If your old theme has any custom page templates, you have to recreate those through the block or site editor. And if your old website used things like advanced custom fields, you also have to convert those over to blocks. There are just a whole lot of moving parts when it comes to converting your website, and it is going to take some time to get your website back up and looking amazing. If you are going to convert your website over, I highly recommend that you set up a staging site. Hopefully your web host offers that, and then build out what you're going to do with your block theme and your website over there, and then just sort of move that over to production when you're ready. Otherwise, it's probably just okay to stick with your regular classic theme. This last one is a little bit nitpicky, and it is something that I tried to fix when building the Crosswinds framework and Crosswinds blocks plugin. And that is that responsive controls aren't quite there yet. The reality is you can't control the number of, columns in a grid for like the query loop block at different font sizes. In many cases, you go from 3, 4, 5, 6 columns in the query loop block, or even the columns block, at like a desktop and it squeezes down, and it only goes down to 1 once you've reached a mobile screen size. Again, this is something that I worked to fix with the Crosswinds Blocks plugin and the Crosswinds Framework theme. The grid block with the plugin has options for desktop, tablet, and mobile screen sizes. And then with the Crosswinds Framework, I added in CSS that helps fix the columns as the screen size narrows. This way you have more control over the responsiveness of your website. Also, you can't really show or hide a block based on the screen size with WordPress core. You have to use the block visibility plugin to do that. Hopefully this gets better with time, but if you really need those minute responsive controls over your design as the screen size goes down, then you're probably going to just want to use a regular classic theme. So let's wrap this up with the question I posed at the beginning of this video. Should you use the site editor? The answer, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, is, well, it just depends. It depends on the situation you're in, how comfortable you are with WordPress and the site editor. Also, how comfortable are you with web design? Or are you building a new website, or are you converting a current website over to a block theme? On the one hand, if you're just starting out with a brand new website, then you're probably going to want to use the site editor. It is, in fact, the default experience you have when you set up a new WordPress website now. But on the other hand, if you have a website that you're currently happy with a design that you're happy with, then there really isn't any reason to make the switch now. Classic and legacy and PHP, or whatever we're going to call it, themes are going to still be around, and it's not going to be removed from WordPress core anytime soon, if ever. But on the other hand, if you really want to customize every part of your website and you don't want to have to deal with PHP, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, any of that, and you just want to do it visually from your dashboard, then yeah, the site editor is going to be a great tool to do that. But then if you have a website with a lot of custom functionality, maybe it's a large university website, or it's very complex and it would be very hard to switch over, then just stick with what you're doing right now, because that's perfectly fine. So ultimately, you have to decide whether using the site editor is a good idea for you, your business, your organization, and your website. So that's it for today. What do you think about the WordPress site editor? Are you using it now? What has your experience been like? And if you haven't used it, why not? I'm just kind of curious. And maybe more importantly, what do you want to know about the site editor? Be sure to leave all those down in the comment section below. To see more videos about WordPress development, the WordPress site editor, WordPress block development, web design, all of those sorts of topics, be sure again to hit the subscribe button and to ring the bell for notifications. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.